What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the ZHP Garage. Hope you guys are having a great day. We're going to be working on a customer car in this video. We're going to be doing the Ford Fiesta ST Wilwood disc brake upgrade on the front and rear. We got the parts sitting over here. So there's not too much to talk about. We just want to show you how to go about putting on Wilwood disc brakes on your car. Hey, I just want to let you guys know that we aren't going to be doing the rear brakes like I just said in this video. We're going to just be doing the front brakes, but we're going to be going in depth into it. The reason we're not going to be doing the rear brakes is because the kit that came with it is to change out drum brakes, not disc brakes. So this car came stock with disc brakes, but there's no kit that comes where you change out the stock disc brakes. There's only kits that come to change out the rear drum brakes. So we're going to change the back rear disc brakes later on, but we have to get a couple parts to put on this car that will make it able to have drum brakes in order for us to put on the rear disc brakes. So that's going to be in a different video, just so you guys know, and just for anyone that's trying to do a Wilwood conversion on their Ford Fiesta ST. Let's just get into the video and we'll go more into it.
What's going on? Got a box full of parts here. Look at these things opened up and organized. So the hat is going to bolt to the rotor. First, we're going to get this thing up in the air, get the tires off, we're going to get all the old stuff off of it. Then we're going to get this assembled, put together, assembled. Then we'll put it on. So let's get this thing up in the air. All right, so this brake kit is going to replace everything. It comes with brake lines, and the calipers, the mounts, and the rotors, everything. So we don't want it leaking right now. So we're just going to unbolt the caliper and let it hang off to the side. We're going to replace everything. And then we're going to change the brake line over to the new caliper. So we're just going to take it apart, take the brake line off. Then we're just going to do the caliper. We're not worried about the pad, so we're just going to do the whole bracket and everything together. So we're just going to let the caliper, it has a lip on the rotor, so you got to push the piston in a little bit in order to get the caliper off the rotor. So we're just going to let it hang here because we're going to replace this brake line, but we don't want it leaking right now. And then the rotor normally gets rusted on here, and being that we're replacing this rotor, we just go ahead and hit it with a hammer from the inside and knock it off. So you can either hit it on the outside or the inside, but just give it a hit on the inside and break it loose from the hub or rust up in here. So you see this lip on here, that's why the pad you couldn't slide off. But just to give you a comparison on the front here, just to give you an idea on the size, this is the front rotor, the new front rotor. So if it was assembled, look like so, and this is how much bigger it is than the original rotor that's on there. So these brakes are substantially larger, so he's going to be able to stop on a dime and give back change. So we're going to get the other side apart, and then we're going to work on reassembling the front end. You can see that it's definitely in need of some brake pads. So now we got the front end apart. We're going to get the hats assembled on the new rotors, then we'll get it fit on here. So the instructions say that the flat part goes to the hat. So we're gonna lay it down. Then they want to put red Loctite on the bolts. So don't get too crazy, but just get a decent coat on the end. Like we said, we're gonna torque these at 25 foot-pounds. So if you're torquing this and you're not able to hold the rotor if you're not able to do it this way, hold the rotor, you can always use the wheel. Lay the wheel down and you can put screwdrivers or something, put the rotor on the back side of the wheel, and you can use the wheel to hold it. So you can torque it that way too. So these bolts that come with the bracket for the Wilwoods, it has this sleeve because the bolts are a little bit smaller. You got to sleeve it down. So you use one of the flat washers, then you install the sleeve and you put Loctite on the threads as well, and then install the bracket this way. So you put the bolt in here.
And what does this bracket do again?
This one here is the caliper bracket. So it bolts the caliper to the front knuckle, and then to make sure you don't get your washer or your little shim pinched, you can put the bolt all the way up so it stays in there. So we're just going to run them down snug because we're going to torque these at 60 foot-pounds. Just going to make sure that our shims didn't get in the way. And you want to run them evenly, so you want a little bit and come back up here. Then we get our rotor, and they want to go this way, so this is the driver's side, and it has these shims to shim the rotor hat. See, it has a lip. There's a lip on here, so it indexes itself, and has a radius, so it can sit up tight to the hub flange. We got to remove the original backing plate because the new rotor's too big. It's going to hit it, so we take out these 8mm. Then the new rotor comes with this adapter, and you see there's a step in the rotor hat, and there's a receiver in this adapter. It fits in there, so it fits nice and even. So put the radius to the hub, and make sure it sits flat. And make sure your hat doesn't have any debris or anything, and you can slide it on there. So once you get the rotor sitting flat, you can use just a regular lug nut, you know, one of the lug nuts, and run it down by hand, and it holds everything in place for you, so it doesn't flop around when you're trying to work on it. One's good. You can put another one on there, but it keeps it from falling all the way off. All right, so Wilwood, they want you to have, there's an arrow on the side of the caliper. For the side they want it on, they want the same direction, so you can match up to the rotor. And then you want to double check and just make sure that the bleeder is above the brake line, because you always want the bleeder to be on top. So just double check that both are like that, but this has an arrow on it. So now when you check the fitment, to center it, you want to center the rotor in between here. They have shims that it comes with to adjust it, so we're just going to put it with no shims. Snug it down to check the alignment, and then just push the rotor up to make sure that it's, you know, uptight to the hub. You want to check here and here on both sides of the rotor. You can see how it's almost touching on the inside, but the outside has got a lot of room. So we need to shim it. We need to shim the caliper in a little bit. So we can take it back off. So we're going to add a shim on the inside in between the bracket and the caliper to shim it in to get centered. So we're going to try 2. Does look like a pretty decent amount of gap in there. So just slide 2 on here, the same on the other one. This is a little tricky to get it in there. You got to back these out a little bit so you can get them started, but not so it falls apart. Okay, then run them down snug again. And then same thing, hold the rotor tight, check the fitment. Now it looks pretty even. Now we're going to take it off and we're going to put the brake pads in it. I already took the pins out that slide through, and there's a little clip that holds it on the inside here, but so now I got to take them out because you can't slide them in because of this. So now we got to take the caliper back off. So put some Loctite on your bolts while they're to get them ready. And then I like to just take a little bit of anti-seize and put it where it contacts on the piston, and just a little bit where it slides. Don't get nothing crazy. You just want a little bit of lube. You gotta remember, the more lube you put on there, the more dirt it's going to attract. So just do a little coat around the piston, and just a little on the little guides there on the side. All right, and then you take your pads that are the same for both sides. They're all the pads are the same. Obviously, the metal part goes to the piston. So you slide it in, and then your pin is going to go back in. And you're going to line it up with the pad here. You got to keep it flat so it'll go through, else it'll pinch it. And line it up with the other side. It'll go in, and you take these clips that retains it, and use a pair of needle nose. Make sure that's locked in. See, that's in there. Okay, we got both the clips in there. Got our Loctite on our bolts. We got to put our bolts in. Then we're going to take our 2 washers that we had on each bolt. Got to get the washers over the bracket, and then pull the bolt out just a little bit so you can get it down. There we go. Got one of them. There we go. Now we're going to run these down. We're going to snug them down with this, and these get torqued 40 foot-pounds. Okay, then you want to hold the hat up tight, and you can spin it. Make sure nothing's rubbing or grinding, and everything's fitting okay. So now this side's all together. Now we're going to go over the other side, put it together, and then we're going to worry about doing the brake lines. So we got both sides together, the rotors, calipers, mounts, all that is done. So now we're going to do the brake lines to the caliper. So first we're going to put this fitting into the caliper. This is just an 1/8 inch pipe fitting, so we're going to put a little bit of Teflon paste on it. And then this is a -3, so just a little bit, and you run it around with your finger so it's evenly around the threads. You want to run it pretty tight. You're going to kind of adjust a little bit, but so you can fine tune where the brake line is going to aim. Then it has this little grommet you got to slide on here first. Then it has this bracket that holds it, and I kind of cheated when I put it on. As I gave it a little bit of an opening, and then I put it in there, gives it a little more room, and I just straightened it back out. Makes it a little easier. Just go like that.
Is that a ZHP Garage secret?
That might be a secret. And then we're gonna put this on here. We don't want to tighten that one up all the way yet. Just want to get it on there because it's gonna go something like that. So now we have that ready. Now we're gonna get the old one out of the way. So we gotta take this clip off that's holding it in. Gotta hold the brake line and everything up so it doesn't fall and splash brake fluid everywhere. Then you get your new fitting that goes from the brake line to a -3. You put that in there. And this one you got to hold with 2 wrenches. You got to hold the fitting. Then you tighten up the brake line. Then you take your new clip. You got to get your brake line up. Install your new clip. Then you got to get your Ford tool out. I'm just kidding. Just use a little hammer. Then you add your new brake line. Then you want to hold the fitting to tighten up the brake line. You kind of want to move quick because you're losing brake fluid. You want to make sure your line's not like all twisted up. Get it pretty straightened out. And then tighten up this side. And you want to use 2 wrenches on this also. You want a wrench on the fitting and a wrench on the line. Then you take your original bolt that was holding your brake line. You loop it around. Install your original bolt. Tighten it down. Then you can check and see if you like the way your line's indexed. I think we're going to tighten this up a little bit more so it doesn't kink it so bad. Then we'll just take a little bit of brake cleaner, rinse off up here. Then we're going to bleed. Since the front brakes are done, you just get a piece of line so it doesn't leak all over itself. And you install it on the top bleeder. And then you open the bleeder 3 turns or so. And you let it sit there. And it's going to siphon bleed the air. It's going to push because the master cylinder is higher. And you're only bleeding it from the brake line to the caliper. So the brake fluid is going to push in. It's going to push all the majority of the air out. And then when you go to bleed it, depending on how you bleed it, you only need to do, like, if you do it with the pressure, if you pump the pedal, you only have to do a couple pumps just to pressure bleed the rest of the little air out. It'd be a lot quicker on bleeding the system. And just double check and make sure that the lower bleeder and everything's tight that you're not using. So it's going to take like a couple minutes. And it's going to, it'll start dripping. Once it starts dripping, we'll close that. In this case, we're going to have somebody push on the pedal, pump it up like 3 times, hold pressure, then we're going to crack it, pressure bleed the rest of the air out of the system. See, once you get it start dripping, so then you just close the bleeder, and then you're going to pressure bleed it from here, from the rest of the way. Before you bleed anymore, make sure you keep your reservoir level full, because you don't want it to run empty and get air in the system. So you're just going to hold the line, because when the pressure pushing fluid out, it'll fly around. So now I'm going to have my assistant pump up the pedal about 3 times and then hold it, and then we're going to open the bleeder, get the air out. So go ahead and pump it up. There's no more air coming out, it's all fluid. So you close your bleeder off. Then once you have both sides bled, then you want to check for leaks. So you take your hose off and you make sure to wipe up any fluid that might have leaked anywhere. Double check that your bleeder's tight. Then you want to have your assistant stop, like a panic stop, like they're missing the dog that ran out in the street. So go ahead and stand on the brakes like somebody's ran out in front of you. Okay, they're holding pressure on the system. That's when you want to check for leaks. So you want to look for anywhere that has a fitting and it all wants to be dry. You don't want any fluid at all on your finger, leaking, dripping, anywhere. So this side's good. So we're going to go ahead and check the other side. So do the same thing. Stop like you're missing the dog. Just check for leaks at all the connections. You have no fluid. It's all dry. So the fronts are done. Put the wheels back on. We're going to move on to the back now. Alright, so we ran into a problem on the rears. I guess we're not going to be doing the rears after all. Even though the instructions show a 2011 to present, this is a 2016, so they should fit. Took it apart, and according to the instructions, the caliper brackets are supposed to be at 12 o'clock. Caliper is supposed to be on top. Well, this caliper mount is back in the back, and it's all one casting. So the bracketry, you're supposed to have this bracket supposed to bolt to the hub, and then this is supposed to go on top, so straight up, but these bolts are from the inside out, not the outside in. So I can't use the brackets, and then also the rotor hits the brackets, and you can't even put the rotor on all the way. We're just gonna put it back together.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, even though we had that issue in the back with the rear disc brakes. Hit the subscribe button down below, and if you have any questions, let us know in the comments. We'll try and answer them to the best of our ability. And I'll see you guys in the next video.